Connecting to cloud server. Okay. All right. So we're going to get going. So here's what we want to do. In light of kind of our focus this month on getting a bunch of freaking people under contract, that's what this training is going to be about. So I talked with the team leads last week, and one thing that I really kind of wanted to bring a focus to in our 411s is our current pipeline. I know because I have proof that you guys have all been doing an awesome job of filling up your pipeline. And I think sometimes I take for granted that, man, if it's in the pipeline, it'll be coming under contract. It'll just happen. And I think what I've realized is a lot of people that have been in the business for a while, there's a lot of subtle things that they do in their mind or in their process that hasn't made its way into our training and sales process yet. And as I dig in and thought more about that, I realized, man, there's a lot of subtle nuances between appointment complete and under contract that I don't think I've shared with a lot of people. Sat down with Matt, talked with him a little bit about it, talked with Doug, talked with our other team leads, and realized I've done you guys a little bit of a disservice in not diving deeper into that sales funnel and allowing you guys to see what are the other nuances to make sure you take it from appointment to under contract. Today, I'm not going to talk about appointments. I'm not concerned about that. You guys just went on 240 appointments in the first 2 months of this year. You guys are filling up your pipeline. So now, this month, we need to all bring a renewed focus around, man. Our 20% is to figure out who is in our pipeline of potential business, people we've had appointments with, and what do I need to do for each person to move that to under contract. And so, yeah, I just kind of written down, funny thing happens when you focus so hard on filling up your pipeline, you tend to forget to put extra focus on converting those pipeline to under contracts. So here's what I want to do today. First and foremost, we're going to dig deeper into the sales funnel and identify these extra steps in the sales funnel that you guys may not even know existed, that I kind of forgot existed until I started auditing my process. Then, after we dig into those steps, you guys are all going to make a list. You're going to write down all of your current clients and what step they're at in the process of this new sales funnel that I'm going to present. And then together, we're going to mastermind around best practices and ideas to move each of your clients to that next step of the process, right? So if they're just appointment complete, how do I move them to the next step? And we'll all kind of give ideas and mastermind around what are some scripts that I can say, what are some things that I can do to make sure I'm moving everyone along, kind of along that pipeline, along that sales funnel. And I'm just going to throw this caveat before I jump in. I say sales funnel, but I want to be careful to say that this isn't about selling someone a home that they don't want. You know, this isn't about not working in your client's best interest. What this is about is understanding your client well enough to know how to get them to where they want to go. And so there's a lot of people out there who just won't work in their own best interest. Like they know what they want, but they just can't get over the hump mentally, or can't do this or can't do that. And so this process is not about convincing someone to buy that would have never bought, but the process is, how do I just move them along to the next step of the process so that they know what's out there, they know what's available, and they can go get what they've told me they want, right? Most people, what they want is out there and available right now. We just need to help them to see that, right? So that's the idea there. So I don't know if you guys can see this up behind me, if I wrote on it. I'm going to try that, and if you can't, that's all right. So there's kind of this traditional sales funnel that I've talked about in real estate. And so that's going to be a terrible marker. Let me try brown. There we go. Okay. You guys probably can't see that. I don't know. You can?
We can see it.
Okay, good. All right. So, so traditionally what we've talked about is on a very simple level, you go on an appointment, and we're talking about buyers for right now. You go on an appointment, and then you do showings, and then you get offer, and then you got under contract. Does that make sense? So we've talked about that a little bit. We've talked about you get a buyer, take them from appointment to showings, take them from showings to offer, offer to under contract. But what I'm going to suggest is there's a lot more steps in this process than just these four. And if we understand there's more steps involved, then we'll actually know what our next step is. I know, because I've audited a lot of you guys' process, that there's a lot of people getting hung up between appointment and showings. Most likely because you're sitting back and waiting for that client to send you the perfect property to go look at. That might never happen. And so how can I get them to do showings with me and not just think that it's passively waiting for them to send me that perfect property, right? Or a lot of you guys are doing showings and you're just waiting for your client to tell you when is the perfect house that they're going to be comfortable writing an offer that'll actually win, right? And so you guys know, man, until they get to the point where they love the house enough to actually write an offer that's actually going to win, then it's not worth my time. So some of you guys are just showing them properties and just waiting for them to either tell you it's the perfect home or waiting for them to love it enough to actually write an offer that's going to win. And so you're just showing properties and not actually getting people to under contracts, right? Some of you guys might be writing offers that just aren't winning, right? And so there's stuff that we can do there. So as I thought about that process, I thought, I think I'm creating barriers by making it feel like there's less steps than what there actually are. So I'm going to propose to you a new sales funnel that I think is the actual way that this works when you think about it more nuanced. So I'm going to do it on this other side over here. So it still involves these steps, but there's a couple more thoughts in there in the process. So see if I can do this over here. Okay, so you still have appointment at the top. All right, so appointment still at the top. Again, I'm not going to talk about that today. You guys are killing it with appointments. Keep doing what you're doing. That's like a status quo. Like, just keep doing what you're doing and you guys will keep filling up that pipeline great. But the next step is not showings. The next step is looking at listings online. So you need to take them from you've done an appointment with them to they're actually looking at the properties you're sending online. All right? So that's the next step. Look at listings. So once you've gotten to that point, look at listings, and we're going to dive more into each step. But once you've gotten to that point, the next step, in my opinion, is what I've said, showings on homes that they don't like. Okay? So here's the step a lot of you guys are missing. When they're looking at properties online, you just need to get them out there and looking at properties. But most of you guys are waiting for the perfect property to pop up before you schedule showings with them. I'm going to suggest that what I've done and what Matt does a lot and people I've talked to that do a lot that move them along the process well is you just get them out there looking, whether they like the home or not. Help them to understand that the next step in the process is to go look at homes in person so that you actually better understand what you're seeing online, right? So I'm going to say the next part is showings homes don't like. All right? So then the natural progression of that is, now that I have them out looking at homes that they may not necessarily like, the next step is, now how do I make sure we're looking at properties that they actually like, right? So the next step is showings, homes, like, all right? Showings on homes they like, all right? Now, you might think the next step is, all right, let's write up an offer and get it under contract. I would argue the next step is writing a bad offer. Okay, now I'm not saying you guys all have to write up a bad offer. Some clients are going to be willing to skip to the good offer, and that's great. Do that. But what I'm saying is some clients are not going to be willing to write a winning offer until they just write an offer. And I've seen that a lot in my business. So I'm going to say writing bad offer. It doesn't necessarily mean writing a bad offer, but writing bad offer, writing good offer, and then under contract. Okay? So that's what I would suggest is the sales funnel and how you guys need to think about the sales process. So again, I'll review. You're going to go on an appointment. Then, and obviously that appointment, you guys understand, sit down in person, solidify the business. You guys are doing that well. We don't need to dive into that. But the next step is looking at listings online. The appointment is irrelevant with a buyer if you guys don't get the client out, if you don't get the client actually looking at homes online. They'll never schedule showings, obviously, if they're not looking at homes. So you need to find a way to make sure they're looking at listings and confirm that that step has happened. Once they're looking at homes online, my suggestion is just get them out looking at properties, whether they like them or not. If you're sitting back waiting for them to tell you the perfect house to look at, they may never schedule a showing because they may not understand they like it until they actually get out there. I mean, me being a real estate agent that looks at properties all day, every day, almost didn't go schedule a showing for the home that we ended up buying because it just looked so bad online. My wife was like, no, trust me, let's go look at it. And then we loved it in person and ended up buying it. And I'm a real estate agent that looks at homes every single day. Imagine how many clients are not scheduling showings on properties because they just don't know what they're looking at. I mean, you guys get that, right? So they need to understand that the next step in the process besides looking at homes is just scheduling showings. You need to get out and actually feel what 1,500 square feet feels like or what 3,000 square feet feels like. You need to feel what 0.18 acre lot feels like versus a 0.25 acre lot, right? And so they need to understand that, hey, whether you love this home or not, it's going to be important for you to get out there and look at homes just so you can start to just fathom what it's like. It's just so much different. And every home you go look at in person changes the way that you see homes online. So we need to get them out there looking at homes, whether they like them or not, and help them to understand it's not because I want to sell you this bad property. I could care less if you offer on this property. What I want you to do, though, is learn how to look at properties better online and get a feel for what it's like to walk through. And then together we can learn what you like. And then that's going to help me then find properties you want to actually look at. Okay. So showings on homes they don't like, then that should transition to obviously showings on homes they like. Don't show them homes they don't like forever. And so you shouldn't live in that world of looking at homes you know they're never going to offer on for a very long time. I don't suggest you live in that for a while, but you can use that as a step to then showings on homes they like. So every time you're doing a showing on a home they don't like, you're auditing, hey, scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about this property? What do you love? What do you not like? Every time they tell you, well, I would prefer this. Okay, great. Well, why don't we go take a look at this because this might be closer. And so then obviously you want to transition them into looking at homes they actually like by continuing to audit as you're showing them homes they don't like, what they like about it and what they don't. Now, when you're out there actually showing them homes they like, obviously then that next step is, all right, you like this house, why not write an offer? So the reason my next step is write a bad offer is because you're going to have some clients who are going to be nervous about writing an offer. They know that it's a good house. They know that it's what they want, but they're just nervous to put pen to paper. And what I tend to find is every time a client writes that first offer, they're so much quicker to write the next one. And not only are they quicker to actually write an offer, but they're more apt to write a good winning offer because they don't want to lose again, right? They don't want to lose out. So we'll talk through best practices in this regard, but that kind of looks like saying, oh, well, you like this house. You told me it was a 7 or 8 on the scale. Well, why not offer? Well, I'm not sure about this and about that and whatever. Well, at what price would this home just be awesome and the perfect fit for you? And if they're like, well, you know, maybe 5 under, maybe 10 under, if we offered that, like, man, that'd be a smoking deal. And in your mind, if you're like, listen, I'm not sure if that'll win, but let's throw it out there and let's see. So I think it's good to walk them through the process. Like, I'm not sure that offer is going to win, but let's do it. Let's put pen to paper. Let's try. Because if that's the perfect smoking deal for you, we might as well try, right? And then when they don't get it, you can process. Hey, listen, your offer was great. It just purchase price wasn't where it was at. So the next time you want that perfect property and you need to have it, all we need to do is up that purchase price about $10,000, right? So that's what you're talking through is transitioning them from writing an offer, any type of offer, to now writing a winning offer, one that you know is going to win. And so obviously this really starts with here's what I think is going to win on this property based on what the listing agent told me, based on how many offers they have. And then finally, obviously, writing enough good offers, that should turn into under contract. And so there's best practices about, man, if you think you're at a stage where you're writing a lot of offers and just not winning, then we can talk about that. You know, we have best practices around that. So, and then obviously under contract is the 7th step. So those are the 7 steps of the process. And you guys need to know these 7 steps. So write them down because I'm going to have you guys audit your current pipeline real quick. So I'm going to list them again. So appointment. So I've had an appointment with them. Step number 2, I've had an appointment and they're looking at listings. Okay. Step number 3, I've had an appointment, they're looking at listings, and now we're looking at properties, but they don't really love the properties we're looking at. Step number 4, had an appointment, we're looking at listings online. Not only have we looked at some homes they don't like, but now we're actually looking at homes they like. Step number 5, we're writing offers. They're not necessarily winning offers, but we're writing offers. Step number 6, we're writing good offers. Step number 7, we're under contract. Make sense? Okay, so here's what I want to, first of all, I'm going to ask, do you guys have any questions about what those different steps mean? Because later in a little bit, we're going to talk about best practices for moving your client from one step to another. So we're not going to talk about that yet. What I want you guys all to do is you're going to write down a list of what you think your current pipeline clients are, and you're going to try to put them into one of these categories. So you're going to say, all right, I think Joe, John, and Gigi, my client, I'm helping her buy a house. No, I'm not really. She's too busy selling houses. She can't buy her own. So these people are all at the appointment stage, and then these people are at the looking at good home stage, right? So do you need any extra information to be able to put your current pipeline clients at each of these steps? Or have I explained it well enough?
For someone that has a hard time understanding things, I think you did a really good job of explaining that.
Cool. Okay. Good. Thank you for saying that. Okay. All right. So here's what I want you guys to do. Take 5 minutes, unless you got a pipeline like Sean, and then just take a minute or so. Just kidding. Just kidding, buddy. Just kidding, buddy. We do. We got jokes today. All right. So take 5 minutes, and what I want you guys to do is literally write down the name of each person that is in your pipeline. I've had an appointment with them, and write down which step they're at. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. Okay? And you might need to go into Boomtown to figure this out. And let me just tell you, if this is really, really hard, like if you have no clue who you have in your pipeline or who you've had appointments with or whatever, we should probably figure that out. One thing I love about Phoenix is it's right behind Nick's head right there. But if you see behind on that smaller whiteboard, him and JP have every single person in their pipeline written up on a whiteboard. Everyone that qualifies as one of these, they have it written up. Now, a lot of people in Littleton have it too. So a lot of you guys have this. But I'm just saying it's important. It's important to have this front of mind for you to know your pipeline and for you to have it right. So maybe it is that you write it up on a whiteboard in your office. Maybe it is just that you have ways that you've tagged them appropriately in Boomtown so you can look them up really easily. But you gotta be front of mind. You gotta know who these people are. So write down who you have at what step of the process, and then we'll. Everyone's busily working. Should probably do this too, huh?
Probably.
I'll do it too. Probably. That was quick response. we doing out there?
Great, Tyler. Thanks.
I said, how are we doing tonight?
That is one of the things that
I can't hear you. Dude, there's this
Yeah.
like basically Onion article that said it said youth pastor still can't hear you or something like that.
Yeah.
Whoever still can't hear you after 12 years or something. That's pretty fun. And now it's like people.
Let's try that again.
Let's try that
Oh my
again.
God.
No.
Now when they're like, that wasn't loud enough. I'm like, bitch, I wasn't.
You bring the energy.
Yeah.
You get me excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I get hyped when I'm ready to get hyped. There's a little bit of Tony Robbins to it though. Like you kind of get your blood flowing by forcing yourself to do it.
Homeboy brings it. Tony Robbins.
That's true. He's not just like walk on stage and like,
Yeah, how are we doing?
how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, like it's like an EDM show walking.
That's true. That's true. Hey, you guys ready for us to talk through some of this? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do this. So what we're going to do is, and you can keep making your list. I would encourage you, if you didn't get time to fill out your whole list, sometime today, go back to your desk or your couch or wherever you're working today. And then you are going to, hold on, sorry. I had to mute that. My bad. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. I muted it. Wrestling around line. Did you see that fake article about that? Like, man pays mountain lion to attack him. Okay, that was pretty funny. All right. Sorry, guys. I was gonna stay focused here. Okay. If you didn't get time to write down your whole pipeline, do that at some point today. Make sure you know where everyone post-appointment is in one of these 7 steps. But now what I want to do is let's take some time and let's mastermind around what is maybe 3 potential things that we can do to take someone from one step to the next step, right? So we're going to mastermind around that. So first step, you've had an appointment with someone, but they're not looking at listings. What's an idea of something we can do to make sure they're looking at the listings you're sending? Punch them in the face is Natalia's answer. Okay, probably not that.
Make sure they received it.
So make sure they received it, Sean. So you want to verify, follow back up. That's simple, but follow back up and say, hey, did you get this email? Did it come through? That's good. Yeah, what else?
I send them houses sometimes, like just one off if they're not really looking online. I'm like, hey, did you see this one? It's great for whatever reason that might pique their interest.
Definitely. Yeah. If you know, like they're seeing them, but maybe they're not actually applying, they're not actually responding to anything, or you don't even know if they're looking at them or not, that's great. I think definitely you can either in Boomtown, there's 2 different ways to do this. In Boomtown, if you look at your feed of the history of everything that's happened, e-alerts that get sent are default unchecked. So it doesn't show you what e-alerts have been sent. If you check that box, you could go into one of the most recent e-alerts, look at the properties the e-alert sent, and then call out a specific property. So you could go check the e-alert box, click on one, and then through Boomtown, if you send an email through Boomtown, there's a little link that says insert listings. And then it'll let you put in MLS numbers of whatever listings you want to manually send through Boomtown. And then there you go. You could also do it through the MLS.
I find their perfect house and send it to them no matter what price it is.
Sure. So that's something you just will consistently do.
Yeah.
Okay. So that could be something where, regardless of where they're at, you want to make that part of your process, sending them that perfect house every week or every however often.
What the key part is, no matter what price point.
No matter what price
Right?
point,
If
it's
you
not
told
just
me
$1 million. Yeah.
Like the lady that I closed last week, her budget was $325, right? I
Mhm.
sent her a house that was $365, but it was fucking perfect, and she
Mhm.
ended up buying.
Gotcha. Okay.
For like
So you're saying
$35.
not just for an under $300,000 buyer, I don't do this for them because it's extra work based on the commission I'm going to get. You're saying if they tell me this is their perfect house and they said their budget's $350, even if it's priced at $375, I'm going to send it to them.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good. That's good.
I know, right?
HGTV, Property Brothers, walking in the $1.2 million home. Yeah. Yeah. What else do people do? to get.
So like if I see that they're not looking at those, I'll reach out to them and just kind of do a check-in with criteria and make sure that maybe something hasn't changed. Maybe their timeline has changed and it's not like a priority anymore, so that I can adjust the way that I send them. So when they get them every month, they're looking at them versus getting them every week and not really looking.
That's great. Yeah. So two things to that. One, generally has something about your search changed. If it's timeline, I want to adjust the frequency so you're more apt to look at it once a week than once a day if you're not looking right now, right? Or two, their criteria might have changed. You want to dive deeper into, like, am I not sending properties you actually like? Because if that's the case, how can I adjust the criteria? That's good. That's good. And another idea I have that Springs guys have actually talked about this a couple times with me. If you're just having a hard time getting them to look at Boomtown, maybe it's going to spam, maybe just you're not able to make your search criteria specific enough, just set them up on the MLS search. Like, just get them something. Like, at the end of the day, like, I want them on Boomtown because it gives me a lot more insights. But if you can't get them looking on Boomtown for one reason or another, it's just going to spam or whatever, then just set them up on the MLS search and follow up with them that way. Because you just, worst case scenario, no matter what, like, your goal is, how do I get them looking at freaking listings, right? And so that's going to be the way to move them to the next step. And I think that's an important thing. The way we frame things in terms of a sales funnel is so that you can be really, really narrow-minded at every step of the process. When I've had an appointment with somebody, I'm not thinking about getting them to write offers. I'm just thinking, how can I get them to look at listings? And then once I've got them looking at listings, how can I get them just looking at any property in person, right? So be narrow-minded with your focus there. Okay, anything else on appointment to listings, or move on to the next step? So what I'll encourage you guys to do, so we just listed 3 or 4 things. Choose one of those things or 2 of those things to do for every person in your step number 1, appointment but not looking at listings. So if you have anyone in that area, you need to get them, do one of these things this week to move them forward. Okay?
What is there, 5 steps?
There's 6 steps.
Well, you just do one every day. Monday, I get these people to this. Tuesday, I get these people
Boom.
to this.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. So you can break it down like that. I would highly encourage you to make this a part of your 411. So I would highly encourage you guys to add these names to your 411 and to think about them, because the 411 is meant to go, what's my 20%? What's the most important thing I can be focusing on? And we're basically saying as a team, this month it's under contracts. The most important thing we can be focusing on is getting people under contract. Like, put your lead gen on status quo, keep doing that, but how can we get people under contract? So every day or every week, write these names, these pipeline names on your different goals for your 411. So goal number 5 is this person's name. Goal number 6 is this person's name. So that you're reminded every single day this week, what do I need to do to move this person forward on these steps? And then what you're going to be doing is these things that we're listing. Okay, so let's talk about number 2. They're looking at listings, but they're not scheduling any showings at all. What are some things you can say or some things you can do to get them out there and actually looking at properties? I think this might be our most common area. I think this is probably where a lot of people have a lot of people. Like, they're looking at some listings, I just can't get them out there. So what are some ideas, best practices to get them out there and going?
I typically, I mean, I've got a lot right now that are in that category because they're out of state. But what I typically do for the ones that are local is I look at them and say, let's go out and kind of kick the tires a little bit. You know, it's not necessarily showing them bad listings, but I look at them and say, or tell them, you know, you're not going to understand the difference between photography and seeing it in person, because we use really good photographers that distort how big a room looks or doesn't look. And so usually I'll take them out and show them 3 or 4 homes at first, and then say, okay, now let's go back and revisit what your criteria is and what do you want to do.
Yep. Yeah. So exactly. It's let's just get out and look at some properties. And so the script that you guys can latch onto, there's several different scripts you can latch onto. You can see one of Gordon's scripts that he used was listen, the photography, it distort stuff. That's our job, is to make it look different online than it looks in person. You're just not going to know what you're actually looking at online unless we go and actually look at it in person. So if it's on the edge and you're not sure if you like it or not, let's just go take a look, right? Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's kind of just pushing them forward. Yeah, what else do you guys do? Get them out there and actually looking at listings. Get them from looking online to looking in person.
Thursday or Friday, I'll send a text out to people that are gotten ready and just let them know I have some availability this weekend. Let me know if anything catches your eye.
Yeah, so easy thing in Boomtown, bulk text to all these people that are in this stage of the process says, hey, I have availability this weekend on Saturday or Sunday. Would love to show you some properties. Let me know. Yeah, let me know if anything catches your eye. Literally just putting that out in front of them, hey, I have availability, and letting them know it's not a big deal. I've already blocked this time. Sometimes these buyers think they're inconveniencing you. Like, oh, no, it's Saturday. I don't want to get them out there looking. It's like, no. I have time blocked on Saturday. Let me know if you want to get out there and take a look at something. Well, we're actually thinking about, yeah, that's good. That's good. Bulk text, send that out. It's a great idea.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, what else? What else? I'll say one thing in somewhat of a snarky manner. One thing you could do is follow the freaking appointment guide and set up the showings at the appointment instead of waiting, like I say to do in the appointment guide. So I say at the freaking appointment, your last step is, I'm going to be sending you some properties. And by the way, whether you like them or not, we're going to go look at some properties because of the reason Gordon just said. So you want to go look on Friday or Saturday, what time works best for you, scheduling those showings before you even leave the appointment, you wouldn't have this freaking problem. I'm just saying. That's one idea. Okay, snarky done. All right. So that's one idea. The other thing that I would encourage is just a mindset change on this. Don't wait around for them to tell you what to go look at. Tell them, if they've not looked at properties, hey, based on my experience, me being the professional, I think these are 3 properties we should go take a look at. When do you have time to go take a look at them? Oh, I'm not sure. And then back to that same script that Gordon was talking about. Hey, just trust me. The next step of the process is just looking in person. If you don't like them, that's great. Honestly, it'll help me a ton if you hate them, because you'll get to tell me exactly why you hate them, and I'll know better for the next time. But we're never going to actually know if you like properties or not unless we go look at them in person, because just pictures online is a poor way to judge a home. So go don't wait for them to tell you what homes. Go say, hey, I have a couple homes I think might be a good fit for you. Even if you don't like them, it's going to help me a lot if we go take a look and you give me your feedback. So it'll really help me understand what you're looking for. How about that? So there's another script approach, is basically saying, how about that? There's another script approach is, us going and looking at homes is going to help me. So if you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, let's go look at some properties so I get a better sense of what you're looking at, right?
I definitely use that, Tyler, about the educational piece. It's not just you becoming educated on what you like or don't like, but since I'm personally handpicking listings from the MLS to send you directly, the more homes that we look inside help educate me as to what you're actually looking for, and it'll make the process smoother.
For sure. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think there's, and again, like, none of this sales process is meant to be like super salesy. I'm going to sell you something you don't want. But literally, if I'm meant to be your professional and to help you and actually guide you along the process, then I need to learn about you, and I need to go look at homes with you to learn about you. And if you guys are the type of agent that's just going to set them up on a drip, forget about it, let them tell you when they want to see a home, and let them tell you when they want to write an offer, they don't freaking need you. And these people coming in trying to disrupt our industry with technology and Zillow letting a buyer go and look at a home on their own without an agent, they're not going to need you if that's all your fiduciary duties are. But if you are guiding them every step of the process, educating them, saying, here's why we need to look at homes, here's some homes I think you should look at, manually sending properties like Gigi said, then your value is protected. You are an obvious fiduciary there, right? So there's ways you got to protect yourself as well by actually being a help in their process. Okay, so that's a couple best practices. I want you guys to think of one of those or 2 of those you're going to do with your clients that are at this stage of the process this week. Figure out which of those you're going to do this week. Now Next step, step number 3, you're showing people properties, but they don't really like it. How do you get them from looking at properties they don't love to looking at properties they love? What are some best practices around that?
What? Looking at properties.
So how do you go from, I'm looking at homes, they don't really like them, to making sure when you're showing them a home, they're actually going to like it?
Well, when they go to see homes and you're like, remember last time you wanted to see this one and this is the same exact layout. It also doesn't have this. So I don't know if that would be worth our time.
Mhm.
Maybe you see these two that are much more your taste.
Yeah, so there's a nuanced thing there that you didn't say that some people might not be doing. Understood in what you said is that when you're showing people properties, you're asking them what they like about the property and what they don't. If you're not asking them and communicating with them, if you're just a door opener, then you're not going to go anywhere and you have no value. You might as well be an electronic lock, right? So yeah, so the idea is you need to be asking them, what do you like about this property? What do you not like about this property? And again, referring to our showing best practice in the agent manual, where it talks through the different questions to ask and the different things to say. But one thing that you need to be doing at every single home is asking them that rating on a scale of 1 to 10. Where does this home fall for you? Because if that can start all the other conversation. On a scale of 1 to 10, where's this one at? And then when they give you an answer, you ask why. And then that should lead to everything you need to know about every property. So then, based on that criteria, you're guiding them to homes that then match what they're saying. Oh, you didn't like this, so let's not go look at that. You did like this, let's go look at that. I mean, how often, I know this happens to me a lot, I assume it happens to you guys a lot, when a client says, oh, I hate this, I never want a home with that. And then 2 weeks later, the schedule is showing on a home that has that exact criteria. And so then I go, hey, remember you said you didn't like that. Oh yeah, sorry, didn't even notice that. Let's skip that one. Like if you just go schedule that property, like clients respect the hell out of you listening and pushing back. So,
Yeah.
But you got to know those things to be able to do that.
I don't ask on a scale of 1 to 10. I say on a scale of 1 to 9.
1 to
Because
9.
10 doesn't exist.
Oh,
A perfect
I like that a
doesn't
lot.
exist.
That's good.
You will always have something that you wish was different,
Mm.
and that's setting unrealistic expectations.
That's good. That's good. So yeah, so if you didn't hear, Natalia said she says a scale of 1 to 9, basically just to say F you to Matt Stover. But secondarily,
Well, we're not all 10s.
yeah, we're not all 10s. So no, I think that's great.
There's no 10.
Yeah. So Natalia's saying basically let's just eliminate option number 10. You're not going to find the perfect house, but we can get you an 8 or a 9 or a 7 that could be a great fit for you and your family. So on a scale of 1 to 9, this is not going to be a 10, right? And then they can push back and say, no, Natalia, it's a 10. And you're like, then freaking offer right now, you know.
Well, I want to sleep on it.
Yeah. So that's good though. I think is inevitably setting up those expectations. That's another hang up you might experience is you're doing a bunch of showings and they're never writing offers. It might be because you set expectations poorly on the numbers. Well, I haven't found a 10 yet. There's not going to be a 10. So that's a script and a best practice to use to get them from looking at good showings to writing offers, right? So that could be transition us to the next step of the process, which is besides saying, hey, there's never going to be a 10, it's never going to be perfect, so is this an 8 or a 9? What are other things you do to get the client from, hey, they're looking at a home they like, to writing offers? Whether they're going to win or not, how do you make sure that you get them over that hump to write an offer if they're hesitant to write an offer or they're just not saying anything? What do you guys think? Any thoughts?
I mean, you got to ask to see what they're nervous about, and kind of speak to that. So if it, so tell me, like, this being I'm totally locked in, and you explain you still have an inspection coming up.
Yep.
So
Yep.
there's soft sell a little bit.
Yep.
One way to go.
Yep.
Do that thing where it's like, if you write an offer, this isn't saying we're definitely buying this house. This is like, we like this house, we're investigating further to see if this is going to be the one that we buy.
Yeah. So both Gary and Gigi are saying that there's the soft sell approach, which is first of all, auditing. Again, you guys will find a lot of the best way to sell is just to ask freaking questions. And so if they're like, I'm not sure, but they told you it was a 7 or 8, then it's well, why not? Like, what are you nervous about in terms of writing an offer? Why are you not putting pen to paper? They may say, I just don't think this is the perfect house. And then you could talk through that. Well, why not? What is it missing that you said you wanted? Or they may say, well, is this, then you'll know they're nervous because they go to asking questions, just like you did, Garrett. Oh, well, does this lock me in again? What was the earnest money amount again? Whatever. So it may just mean they need you to educate them again on, here's what the offer looks like. And then what Gigi said, this, like I know in the Colorado contract to buy and sell, there's about 13 different ways that you can back out. And so literally I say that line. So you writing an offer is really just you saying, I'm interested in this house. I want to see if this is the perfect fit. It gives you exclusive rights to investigate this house and pushes everyone else out of the way. Don't worry. There's about 13 different ways you can back out if it's not the right fit, but writing an offer moves you to that next step to give you the right to investigate. Of course, we're going to do an inspection. And if there's issues with the house, you can walk away. Of course, we're going to have an appraiser come and look at the home to make sure it's worth what you're offering and it's a sound investment. Of course, we'll look at the title work and we'll look at all this other stuff. So if you kind of ease their woes that, listen, you can back out. This is like making it a softer reason to move forward. So that's good. Yeah, what else? Anything else there? The other thing I was going to say is just what I said earlier, which was, why don't you want to write it on this house? Well, I'm just not sure it's worth what it's listed at. Or I don't think I'll get it for what I want to offer. Or maybe you've done a good job and you've told them, listen, I think, you need to offer $350 for you to get this home. And they've just thought, well, I don't know if I want to write that. If you're getting a lot of blocks where they're just like, I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth it. I just don't think it's worth it. Then that's where I think the bad offer comes into play. That's where I think you go, okay, at what price would this be a great get for you? I'm like, well, I can get it for $340. You can say, listen, I don't think you'll get it at $340, but I do think it's worth us putting that on paper and seeing what they say. The reason I do that is twofold, because there's a 1% chance that for some reason that offer might actually work, but there's a 99% chance that they're going to be this much quicker to writing next time. And so when you just get them over that hump of, I've never written an offer, and now I wrote an offer, and it wasn't a big deal, and like it got, and it didn't get accepted, but like I realized it wasn't scary, and I didn't like have to sign my, oldest child away or whatever, then they realize, oh, it's not a big deal, and they're that much more likely to move the next time. So either auditing why are you not writing and going through all the contingencies and letting them know it's not a big deal, soft selling, or okay, at what price will you offer it? Even though it might not be a winning offer, let's write it, especially if it's their first offer, to move them along. Similar to showing them bad properties, you don't want to write bad offers forever. So you want to eventually get to the point where it's like, maybe after a couple, where it's like, okay, listen, like that's not going to win. So let's not worry about it, right? But I think your biggest return on investment for writing an offer that's not going to win is that first one to get them over the hump. Okay, now this may be a little bit easier, maybe not, but how do you move from just writing offers to making sure that they write an offer that's actually going to win? How do you guys make sure when your client's writing an offer that they're actually writing a strong offer that's going to win? What do you guys think?
Call the listing agent and see what the house is.
Calling a listing agent. So you've got to audit the situation. Again, ask the right questions so you know what a winning offer is, so you can coach your client to writing the winning offer. So that's first. Ask the listing agent every time before you write an offer, what's the situation? Do you have offers? What is your seller looking for specifically? How can I make sure this is a winning offer? That's good. Yeah, what else?
I actually have taken what you said one time about asking them if somebody else were to pay $1,000 more than them, would you be comfortable saying, yeah, that person overpaid, see you later house, and you would feel completely sure that you put in your best foot.
Yeah.
So that they're not playing the game like, well, let's put this in and then like see what place we're at, and then if I need to bump it, I can, and then it's just like a game of just like fucking around.
Sure. So the next thing is try to actually audit what their top dollar is. Sometimes it's hard for someone to say their top dollar just off the top of their head. But Natalia said using the line, all right, so you said 325. If someone offered 326, are you comfortable that they paid too much for it and you're good walking away? Because the answer is no, then your offer needs to be 326. And then we keep asking that question until you hit the point where they're like, yeah, I'm comfortable. 330 is it. Someone offers 331, they paid too much. So really auditing their top dollar by asking that question. That's good. What else?
I personally like escalation clauses for that specific reason. If there's obviously multiple offers on the table and your client's already hesitant about, paying above, asking price, paying above a certain limit with their out of their comfort zone, I'll explain the escalation to them and say, hey, in this scenario, we will go up to our top number, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily paying that top number if there's multiple other offers. But this will give us the opportunity of being able to say, hey, this is our top number, but we're not going to pay that number if there's offers below that, and we'll pay $1,000 or $100, whatever that number is, above that other offer, just to make sure we secure it.
Yeah.
And obviously, for me, it's going to come down to the other terms of the contract. So the financing is going to be a big one. Close date, if they have a contingency and can't close for 45 days, I typically won't do that. But if it's a strong offer with terms, then I'll throw in escalation clause for that specific reason.
Yeah, so using escalation clauses where you can tell your client, hey, listen, if that really is your top dollar, and you'll be upset if you miss out if someone pays less, we don't have to come in at your top dollar. Let's come in lower and then write this clause where we automatically offer $1,000 over the highest offer up to your max price. And so that's a way to protect their, hey, we don't have to come in at $330, but if you are willing to pay that, if someone offers $329, then let's do that escalation clause. The only caveat I will say with the escalation clause is you really want to make sure your client understands, like, I'm only writing an escalation clause if my client has basically said, I'm good paying $330. And I'm saying, well, let me see if I can get this for less for you. Because you're playing the cards in terms of a fiduciary. You're saying, I'm offering $320, but they would pay $330. So there's a way in which that's being a bad fiduciary. But if your client's like, I cannot miss out on this house, and if someone pays $330 and I didn't have the opportunity to, I'm going to be upset, then you need to present it to them as, all right, listen, then I'm offering $330, but I'm going to see if I can get it for less for you. And that's the way we approach it with an escalation clause, to still be a sound fiduciary for your clients, if that makes sense.
Quick question with that, since I've never really
Uh-huh.
used it. Is there a burden of proof on the other agent to show that this was okay?
Yeah. So the question
there
is there a burden of proof? Does the other agent have to show it? You want to write that in there, like listing agent must show proof of higher offer. Now obviously, me listing agent, I could have no other offers and say, hey, I know you're willing to offer $330, so I'm just going to counter you at $330, not show you anything else, remove that clause, and make your client pay $330. So there's always that possibility, but I'm not, so you just have to understand those are the worst case scenarios. That's why an escalation clause in some scenario could be being a bad fiduciary. If for some reason there's not other offers, or the other offers are way lower and they just counter you back, don't show proof and just make you pay top dollar. So that's possible, but usually you write it in the clause and they'll show it to you. So anything else? Making sure you're writing a winning offer?
I'd say too, knowing when they're going to be talking to the sellers and checking in before that, especially a day or two is going by, just to make sure no other offers come in. Some agents suck at letting you know where you're standing. They won't call you back, and then all of a sudden it's in your contract.
Yep.
So knowing when you're talking, following up, so you have that opportunity to rewrite it if you need to.
So in a multiple offer situation, know when they're reviewing offers and make sure you check back in a lot closer to the deadline, because that agent's probably not going to follow back up and just give you all the information and remind you. That's smart. So if they're reviewing offers Sunday at 5 and you're writing this offer Saturday morning, then call back Sunday night at 3 or 4 and say, hey, what's the situation? How many offers do you have? That way you know if you need to adjust your offer or not. That's good. This may be simple, but I feel like it's worth mentioning. I make sure with every single client, I do not take the approach, what do you want to offer on this home? I never take that approach. I always take the approach, it is a question I ask, but only after I've said, this is the type of offer I think will win on this property. It doesn't mean you have to offer it, but based on my expertise, you're paying me to let you know what's going to win. This is what's going to win. Now, given that, you want to offer that, or do you want to offer less? We come in at whatever you're comfortable, but I think this is what's going to win. So.
Do you typically say, so I normally, like, when we're at the house and they're like, what do you think? I always say, hey, like, let me do my due diligence. Now that I know you like it, let me talk to them, let me run my cons.
I will never give someone an answer.
Yeah.
I'll almost never give them an answer, because I will say, I'm a terrible agent if I give you an answer without knowing the situation. And so I'll tell them that. If I don't know the situation, I can't give you a good answer. I could go run comps and tell you what I think it would appraise for without talking with the agent, but I can't tell you what I think is going to win until I talk with the listing agent, because I got to go into the situation. So I do the same thing. I'll never give them an answer there. I'll literally, if someone says I want to write an offer, I don't dive into the details at the house at all. I'll say, okay, let me call the agent. Typically I do that on the way home. Then I get them back on the phone. Here's the situation. Now we talk about purchase price and all the auxiliary stuff about earnest money amount, limit, scope of inspection, or whatever else we might need to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone here puts like acceptance deadlines and times, right?
Yep.
Somebody in the office came up to me, and was like, had me like review their stuff. And I was like, when's your acceptance deadline? And he's like, I never put an acceptance.
Oh my gosh.
Like ever. Yeah. And he was like,
say it was days.
He's having Gigi review his offer.
Right? Yeah.
Did you look
There
at
was,
this
and
one?
he said that there's a few people in the office that do that. I just don't put acceptance deadlines at times. And I was like, bro, you need to put that shit like 12 hours. Because he's
Yeah.
like up against some other showing. And I was like,
Yeah,
12
so
hours, it's been on forever.
so Gigi's saying she's ran into a couple agents that don't put acceptance deadlines on their offer, so obviously don't do that. Your offer always needs to expire. So
What was their reasoning for not wanting to put an acceptance deadline on it?
So that they just never do.
they just never do. That's why.
Okay.
I mean, I suppose the only thing I could think, if you run in circles and go, well, my offer is always going to be available. So, so if I'm the one not being a jerk and they can take it at any time. But if you don't write an acceptance deadline, you do understand that 2 weeks later, that person can come back and sign your offer and you're under contract on something else. You've left your offer completely open-ended. Your offer has to expire at some point, or they could go sign it 2 weeks later. You're under contract on something else, and now you're under contract on two things. You can't
You
do
just
that.
wouldn't drop earnest money.
You just can't. Yeah, but that's not a valid reason to break contract. They can sue you. Not dropping off earnest money is not a valid reason to break contract, by the way. If you don't drop off earnest money, simply you not dropping off earnest money means you are in breach of contract and the seller can sue you for earnest money.
So technically, they can sign it like however, like 4 days before you're supposed to close, and you're
Yep.
fucked.
Yep. If you leave an open-ended debt, you just simply don't drop off earnest money. That is one of the only ways the buyer is in default of the contract. Simply by not dropping off earnest money, the seller could sue you for earnest money amount.
So in that situation, they would have to pay for like an inspection or something to actually get out of the contract. So you're screwing over your client by doing that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
You wouldn't even have to pay for an inspection.
Yeah, you
go
could
in
just
there
go
and be
walk
like, I
through it.
inspected this, I don't like this red
Yeah.
door, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. You could technically go inspect it yourself, but yeah, just leave
Oh, yeah.
open-ended is bad. Yeah. Open-ended is bad.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I'd never heard it before.
The other thing is I've realized that this is very subtle, but I think a lot of people miss this. When you're trying to get someone over the hump on writing an offer or writing a good offer, they want you to reassure them that they're making a good choice. Like they want to hear from you that it's a good decision. So when I'm showing people property, when I know they have some interest, I'm subtly saying things like, man, this is a great investment. There's that development that's going in next door. Or I'm saying, man, they have this price really, really well. Like you might be able to walk into some equity. So as you're showing people properties or as they're considering writing an offer, they want you to reassure them that you're making a sound investment. So, sorry, the dog is leaving the training. So they want you to talk through, yeah, this is a great investment for this, and this reason. And so a lot of times I'll even frame it as, listen, you're here to figure out if this is a good fit for your family, and I'm here to let you know if I think it's a good investment or not. So as an agent, own that investment portion. Let them know, listen, this is a good investment for this, and this reason. And then they'll feel a lot better about, oh, well, good. It's a perfect fit for my family. So if you think it's a sound investment, then I'll move forward. A lot of times they're hesitating because they don't know what they don't know. So they know it's a good fit for their family, but they're afraid they're going to be upside down or it might be a bad investment. You own that and say, this is good. This is good. This is a good investment based on what I know of this neighborhood or area. Then you're going to make them feel better about moving that next step and writing an offer. And then just also letting them know that, and I'll even say this line sometimes, and sometimes it's such a good fit for your family that the investment part's a little irrelevant. This is a forever home. Like if you're going to be here forever and you just want the right fit, who cares if you're going to be able to sell it in 2 years for a profit? Like this is about your family. Ideally, we get both. Sometimes you can sacrifice investment to get perfect for your family. And sometimes the reverse is true. I'll sacrifice if it's a perfect fit for my family to get a great investment, right? So there you go. And that is it. And that's pretty much it. So what I want you guys to do is not just go, oh, that was a great training, and then do nothing. Okay, so yes, you would. I know you would say that. Oh, great training, wonderful. Okay, so
You're gonna go post about it.
yeah, you're gonna go post on Facebook about how great I am. I know. No, so what I want you guys to do is, I literally want you guys to finish this pipeline of the number of names. I want you to put those people on your 411 document, and you need to write which of these steps they're on and which of the best practices we went on today you're going to do with each of those clients this week. Okay? I promise you, there is very little more important than you doing these things, moving each of these clients to the next step of the process. If you do that, you're going to find yourself moving all of your clients a little bit closer to getting under contract. We're all going to be a little bit closer to making some money. Okay? So that's what I would encourage you guys to do. And then I've instructed your team leads or whoever's running your 411 to talk about these things in your 411. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about these people. That's going to be our focus. Oh yeah, great. Those appointments are wonderful. What about your pipeline? And that's what we're going to be talking through. And then I want you to go deeper with the team lead. Talk through each situation. I want you to say, all right, so this is the guy. This is what I was thinking. What is your thoughts? You guys might be able to brainstorm some other idea that we didn't mention here. Or you may be able to go, oh yeah, let's do it this way, and then take that next step and move that client forward. So talk with each other. Let's post on Slack about what you guys are doing. If you have a success story, post it on Slack all hands. If you want to get someone's advice, post your situation on Slack. I have this person. What do you guys think will work? Hey, apply this best practice we talked about. Okay, so let's take the next couple of weeks as an organization and focus all of our attention, or almost all of our attention, on getting our pipeline under contract and see what happens for April in terms of closings. So, any questions before we wrap up?
Yeah, I got one more.
Yeah.
So as far as buyers go, I have a few that are at the point of dragging ass, getting everything they need to the lenders, secure the loan, and there's only so much I can do in that process. What's like a good way to nudge them, especially if they don't have like a firm timeline?
Yeah.
You know, they're like, I could go here or I can go tomorrow.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and it's actually, I've had this situation with several different things. So his question is, what happens if they're like dragging on getting stuff to the lender, like they're not pre-qualified yet, so that's been holding us up on going and looking at homes. I've had other people tell me, well, someone needs to solidify some job situation or they need to do something else in order to buy. Here's my honest opinion. Separate from all that, if you keep moving them along the process, something funny happens when they fall in love with the house. They all of a sudden tend to be a little bit more motivated. All of a sudden, that job situation that's taken months to figure out figures itself out when they love a property. All of a sudden, that pre-approval letter comes in when they love a property. So I would say whatever's holding them up, you know, if it's they haven't gotten that pre-approval letter yet, they haven't submitted all their documents to finalize that, there's some job stuff over here, you know, funny thing happens when you move them along. So I would say your goal is get them to fall in love with the house. Now, there might be a certain extent where you might be wasting your time, right? Maybe they fall in love with the house and they don't end up getting it pre-approved or don't end up getting this. If you guys have so many other active clients that you're trying to get under contract that you're going to waste your time by working with someone like that, great. But if you don't have a bunch of other people under contract, you're not wasting your time trying to get someone under contract that doesn't end up getting under contract. You're doing everything you can, right? Unless you have a big pipeline of people that are ready to go under contract and you working this person that wastes your time prevents you from these people, then you're not wasting your time. Do everything you can to get someone under contract. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. It's past noon. Go do your thing. Let's get some people under contract. April, let's make it our best month ever.